let's start with Cassidy Hutchinson, who was a White House aide, specifically to Mark Meadows, who testified before the January 6th committee in the House about kind of the most like revealing testimony maybe we've heard, perhaps. I don't know, maybe the most interesting, like Trump throwing ketchup against a wall, or throwing a steak with ketchup against the wall and her having to clean it. Trump trying to grab a Secret Service member's arm to like steer him to the Capitol on January 6th. A lot of this stuff, Mark Meadows losing his goddamn mind on January 6th, being like, oh, I'm going to jail. We're all going to fucking jail. And lo and behold, he gets indicted. Just some really good shit. I happen to believe all of this because I do not think that MAGA actually sees women. They have like female face blindness. So when they're like thinking about who to pardon, when they all get like screwed for their crimes, they like forget that like the women around them. So the women are just like, well, if you're gonna fuck me over, I'm gonna write a book. And she's got a new book out called Enough, and in it she details some pretty awful things, and particularly that Rudy Giuliani groped her on January 6th. So this is when Rudy thought they were gonna win, and that's, look, I don't know how happy you guys have been. Like, think of a happy moment in your life. My first instinct when I get happy or a good thing happens is not to assault someone, but that's just me. You know, some of us are like, I'm so happy, titties, boobs. Like, sorry, that's not funny, but it's like, that's the level of fucking predator we're dealing with. So she writes, the corners of his mouth, his being Rudy Giuliani's mouth, split into a Cheshire cat smile. Waving a stack of documents, he moves towards me like a wolf closing in on its prey, Hutchinson writes. We have the evidence. It's all here. We're going to pull this off. Rudy wraps one arm around my body, closing the space that was separating us. I feel his stack of documents press into the small of my back. Is that a euphemism? No? Okay, maybe not. I lower my eyes and watch his free hand reach for the hem of my blazer. By the way, he says, fingering the fabric. There's a little too much writing happening. But anyway, I'm loving this leather jacket on you. His hand slips up my blazer, then my skirt. I feel his frozen fingers trail up my thigh, she writes. He tilts his chin up. The whites of his eyes look jaundiced. Ugh. My eyes dart to John Eastman, who flashes a leering grin. I fight against the tension in my muscles and recoil from Judy's grip. Filled with rage, I storm through the tent, yet on another quest for Mark Meadows. She writes a reference to her then boss Meadows. So just again, the depths of like depravity and predator and fucking misogynist, like that you're gonna assault, you're gonna try and like, what are you doing, Rudy? What the fuck are you doing? What are you doing, honestly? And here, this is like what I say to all like Republican women. Like, do you see what they do to women who have any amount of like role or power in your party, and you still vote for them? I don't get it. None of them watch the show or listen to the show, but it boggles the mind. But Aaron, just weigh in here on Cassidy's journey from being a very eager MAGA, fan, landing this dream job, and then this is how she's treated.
Okay, well, can we all just agree that we're not going to pretend that all of the right-wing figures who like write books actually write books? Like most politicians, they don't actually write it. They have a ghostwriter. They do interviews with a ghostwriter. The ghostwriter did a little too much writing. You're absolutely right. I'm going to say, Cassidy Hutchinson is a bad person. She might be doing some like constructive, good decisions, but overall, the trajectory of her career and her life, she was an intern for Ted Cruz. Ugh. Gross. She was an intern for Ted Cruz. And she's like so young. She's eviling at like a much higher grade level than she actually should be eviling. I mean, look, I think that everybody has a shot at redemption. I think that people can make a bunch of mistakes and then see the error of their ways. But I think we also need to, she's got a little bit more penance to do. I was raised Catholic, and I feel like she's got a little bit more making atonement up to do. Yes, exactly. She's got to do a little bit more atonement before I actually think that the balance has been righted to zero. Like, I think she's still in a negative karmic balance territory for everything that she did working for Donald Trump during all of the awful things that he did. Like, she didn't have a problem with him when he made that quid pro quo call to the president of Ukraine. She didn't have a problem with him with his immigration policy, and the cruelty is the point of it all. She had a problem with him. Like, she woke up, shortly after January 6th, and it seems like from the CNN write-up of her book, which I'm not going to read her book. Nobody should read her book. Read people's write-ups of the book. Trees don't have to die for this, right? Like, you can just like read it by proxy, right? I think that she only started talking to the January 6th committee because she wasn't invited to go down to Mar-a-Lago with Trump's inner circle. She was like mad. So yeah, I think she's kind of like, she's showing her ass a little bit in this book. But if she truly wants to be somebody that isn't cancerous to America, like everybody she's ever worked for, she has a little bit more to do. I know.
Wow, Erin, I thought you were a feminist, but I guess I'll have to ask Jason for his opinion.
I just want to say that she worked for Ted Cruz. I just want to tell a really quick thing. One of Ted Cruz's staffers came up to us when we were filming at CPAC, and he was like, "Oh, you're the good liars." And I swear to God, he looked exactly like Ted Cruz. Like Ted Cruz, like some part of Ted Cruz is like fallen off and spawned like another person. He looked exactly like Ted Cruz.
That definitely happened.
So bizarre. So bizarre. But with the book, and like, did everything happen? Like, I believe her more than I believe Rudy Giuliani. Like, Rudy Giuliani is going to say he's going to deny it. He's going to say he doesn't remember. And I believe him that he doesn't remember, because it was probably 1 o'clock in the afternoon at that point. He was probably drunk.
Yeah.
Like, there was reports that he was drunk on election night, telling Trump not to concede. Like, this is not a guy who like steers a steady ship. So I don't believe Rudy, and I don't feel bad for Rudy, but it's the same thing with Trump. Like, if you don't break off and you become like somebody who like knows his inner circle, like Erin was saying, and then works for the other side, like Michael Cohen or somebody like that. Now they're the good guys from the point of view of the left, because they're like saying Trump is bad. But it's like, you worked for Trump for all of these years. You worked for Ted Cruz. It wasn't like you were fighting any of the good fights here. You were fighting all of the bad fights, and now this is like an opportunistic thing.
Yeah, and now
those things happen. They're terrible, and yeah. I
mean, that's sort of what I'm saying is, like, now it's only a matter of time before they will come for you too. Like, there's no respect, there's no honor among thieves. They're literally trying to steal an election, and so yeah, it's awful. And I absolutely do believe her account, because Rudy Giuliani, we know, is now being sued by a former staffer
his lawyer. He's getting sued by his lawyers right now.
Well, his lawyer's number one, and then a former staffer who like alleges massive amounts of sexual assault and misconduct, a coercion, disgusting accounts of him like whatever wanting to be on the phone while like she went down on him, and things I can't think about.
Yeah, we all watched Borat too. We all watched Borat too.
Yeah, we all watched Borat too.
Had a big scene in that movie. It's completely believable and caught on camera in that movie.
Totally, but it's also like, yeah. Who do you think you're with? You're with raging misogynist racists who all talk about like, rating women and how, how like we should take away their reproductive rights. Like, who do you think you fucking work for? You're not special. And that's what I mean about, like, you're right, Erin, that she wasn't included in this like inner circle going down to Mar-a-Lago. So she did flip on him. And like, I will say, of all the people, former Trump staffers, I think Michael Cohen's my fave. Because Michael Cohen didn't legitimately flip. He did legitimately flip, and he did legitimately was like, look, my family has gone through it. It ends here. And yet, of course, he's done a massive amount of dirty work for Trump. But like, out of all of them, I feel like he actually suffered consequences, and he had the least to gain. So Rudy going down with a ship. Rudy is just straight up like, he'll be like glug glug glug, like underwater.
I can't believe after 2016, when he gave that speech at the RNC, when he was screaming about Hillary Clinton, I can't believe that wasn't it for him. Where it was like, he looked unhinged, and I was like, is he okay? That was my thought was like, I'm worried about this man. and now he just like attached himself to Trump, and he's just going to go down with him. So
Yeah. But we'll see. Cassidy will probably be on The View shortly.
Scabs, by the way, The View, Scabs.
Are they back?
They were in production through the entirety of the strike.
Well, this is a fun, quick story. Once I went to see The View when I was like 18 in New York, because ironically, it turns out you can't be part of a live studio audience. Ironically, it's impossible. People who go to see shows like The View love The View. You can't just be like, these are stupid. This is daytime. Yeah. Nope. And The View is obviously like the least awful. They're attempting to have relevant conversations, but hey, they're scabs. Mm-hmm. There you go. But anyway, I don't know that Cassidy's going to end up there, but I assume because it's really the media that rewards these like former Trumpers, even though you guys are right and they aren't actually. They're actually part of the problem. But what's going on, Frantifa? If you haven't already, subscribe to this channel right now. Hit that button. And also, you can become a patron and support the show every single week. Get access to bonus episodes and exclusive merchandise. Patreon.com/Bitchuation Room. Do it.